Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another AP Human Geography lesson. I am Mr. Latimer,
I'm still Dr. Scoggins.
and today we will learn about lessons 1.5 and 1.6.
But before we do that, today's lesson is brought to you by jackets. Jackets. Don't pull on a jacket in a fight.
My jacket, my jacket.
Today's lessons, as Mr. Latimer says, is skills 1.5 and 1.6. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to
Explain how major geographic concepts illustrate spatial relationships.
You're going to define scales of analysis used by geographers.
And explain why scales of analysis reveal.
What they reveal.
What they reveal.
You said explain scales of analysis reveal.
Oh, explain. Oh, my
What?
bad. It's
What do they reveal?
The information.
We'll find out in a minute. So, if I may, real quick, you know how we've been talking about maps?
Yes.
This is completely left field.
Yes. This has nothing to do with maps.
At all.
Yes.
Sustainability. What is it?
Sustainability, it has a hard definition, but this is the kind of agreed upon one. It's the ability to have your wants and needs met right now, while also having your wants and needs met in the future without impacting the environment.
Are you telling me that if I'm an oil man,
If you're an oil man, yes.
oil man, and I drill and take all the oil out of the earth, and I cannot replace it faster than I use it, my children will not have oil?
That is true. If you use up all the oil, there will be no more oil. That is not sustainable.
You got to say it like a Texan. Oil.
Oil, it may not sustainable.
Question, what's with the quotations around that? Is that your quote?
No, I took that from the internet.
Proud of you.
Okay. Another definition of sustainability is being able to do the same thing over and over again without causing problems.
What is the most sustainable thing we can do for power?
For power would be wind farms, but again, nothing is truly perfectly sustainable.
No.
Everything causes problems in some way. Wind farms kill birds. Birds are dumb. They will fly into these fans and be chopped up.
Sorry.
These hydro dams, that used to be a low-level river, and then when you dam it up, the water rises, it kills off the local environment, and it alters things.
It creates a reservoir.
It creates a reservoir. Solar panels are great. They absorb sunlight, convert it to electricity. That's wonderful. However, that requires a certain crystal, I believe. Requires metal.
I don't know. Crystal.
There's some kind of I don't know. There's some metal in there. It requires resources. All of these things require resource, and they require land to be used. So nothing is ever truly sustainable, but there are some behaviors that are more sustainable than others. So if you had to pick something that's sustainable, pick something like wind farms or hydro dams or solar panels. Yeah, they're great, but remember, nothing is ever truly sustainable. If you want to get dark, the only thing that's ever truly would be sustainable is if everything died, because then nothing would change.
No, because then if everything died, then sustainability wouldn't matter.
I mean, if all humans died.
We're getting very meta.
Yeah.
No, if all humans died, then everything that we're talking about ceases to exist.
But is that important in the grand scheme of nature?
What will come after humans?
I don't know, squirrels?
Cyborgs.
The
rise of the cyborgs.
Okay. That's if we let that happen.
We're letting it happen now.
That's true. We got all those drones. All right. Here's a graph showing you how our non-renewable resources are depleting. Non-renewable is stuff like you see coal, gas, and oil. We will, in your lifetime, depending on if you're one of our students, you will probably be alive at this point when we run out of all non-renewable resources. We'll be dead. I'll be dead.
That's just coal.
We'll be out of gas and oil. Well, I'll be in a retirement home probably by then.
Wait. Is that based off of reserves, or is that based off of all, because I know we have backup reserves.
No, this is, from what we understand, how much resources we have currently left in the world.
That has not been tapped.
Even predicting stuff that we haven't found yet, because there are those areas that we haven't tapped in, but we have beliefs that there are untapped resources. So this is accounting for all of that. We will be out of non-renewable resources within our students' lifetime.
I don't really care for that.
I don't either, but we got Elon Musk who's going to save the day.
He already has.
Yeah. All right. Sustainable development. So we've talked about sustainability being able, it's acting as though you can continue to do your behaviors over and over again without causing any kind of damage in the long term. So how to make that into reality, we have to figure out how to live in community. Well,
no, you're good communities.
Yeah, well, live in communities that are beneficial to society and to the environment. You want to figure out how to build using natural adaptation. So, like you see this building on the left using green roofs. Instead of using materials, you're just using grass and dirt. I'm sure there's some kind of tarp underneath that because water's just going to go through the dirt. We talked about solar panels already. The AP exam is evil, and they are never going to call them solar panels. They're going to call them photovoltaics because they hate you. Photovoltaics. This is a house. This is kind of a common site where I grew up.
Where was that again?
Houston, okay. Near the Galveston area. So these houses were raised up on these things called pilings because when the hurricanes come, the sea levels rise and they destroy everything. So you'll be okay up here. Your car and your garage will be destroyed.
Maybe you converted the garage into another little apartment.
Maybe.
And then that person.
Yeah, you just leave, you sublet it out. Like, good luck.
We wouldn't let them come up?
No.
It's extra month.
Yeah.
Per month.
Okay. All right. So, y'all, there are two theories about how people and the environment interact. It's called human-environment interactions. There's two theories on this, and they are opposites of each other. The first theory is called environmental determinism, which is the belief that the environment shapes how your society develops. So if you ever get confused, because I know these are two big words here, think about it. The environment is in control here. The environment is determined. If you're determined to do something, it means you're going to make it happen. So the environment is making something happen. And what this something is society developing. This is an old theory that was used to explain why the Europeans were so advanced and why America became so advanced. It was because our climate. We had a nice climate. It allowed us to work outside longer, for us to develop things faster. Compare that to the places that are in the tropical zone, like you see on this map. It's in the tropics, you'll find rainforests and you'll find deserts. It's difficult. It's not impossible. It's difficult to develop there, according to this theory, because the weather is so intense, the lack of resources, the rainfall is too high or too little for you to work. Pouring concrete is supposedly difficult in tropical environments. It takes longer to settle. So that's the theory. Environmental determinism is saying if you live in the tropics, you're going to be less developed.
I don't care for that.
Yeah, it's also a racist theory because it was because because you live in this tropical place where your society develops, you're just naturally held back. It's
almost like an environmental racism.
It is. It's environmental racism. So you see, remember that which zones are going to be more favored in this theory. So the temperate zones, the ones in the orangish yellow color. So in the top and the bottom, there's two temperate zones. So you have like America, Europe, northern China, and Japan, and part of the Middle East. Those areas developed faster. And then in the bottom again, you have other places that are also relatively higher developed. You have Chile and Argentina, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. All these places you see in yellow, for the most part, are considered developed or more developing countries. And compare that to the places in the green, which are less developed. However, it is wrong to assume because you're in the tropics that you're going to be less developed. But that's what this theory is all about. It's saying that because you're in the tropics, you're going to be less developed.
Well, the continent of Africa is where the continent of Africa is imperialism.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the environment.
Yeah.
In fact, the environment was stripped.
Yeah.
Resources were stripped.
Yeah, that's why Europe got so rich, was they took everything from Africa.
And Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and everywhere.
Yeah,
except Thailand. I think Thailand and Ethiopia. Well, no, Ethiopia got at some point.
Well, Thailand was
independent. It was the one place.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about environmental determinism.
The environment
is in charge So yeah, you got to remember, environmental determinism was the environment shapes the people.
It determines them.
Yeah. How is your people going to be? Environmental determinism tells you. Possibilism is the opposite theory. It states that people are the ones who shape the environment.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. That's the theory. That's the more modern theory. That's the one we use today. It's more popular. It's more inclusive. We can use multiple examples proving how people shape the environment. These are 3 that have been referenced on the AP exam. The city of Dubai is a city that, if you were an environmental determinist, you would say that city should not have existed.
But it does.
It does. It's I think, the wealthiest city in the world, and it's in the desert. It's very hot. There's no resources there, but they made it happen. Even further, they built golf courses in the desert. They ship in water, fresh water every day, and they water that golf course. So possibilism is showing you how the environment can be changed by people.
It's not very sustainable.
It's not sustainable at all. The Netherlands. Now, if you're talking about sustainability, the Netherlands is where it's at. The picture on the right here, this is the Netherlands. It's one of the only countries that's gotten bigger. So it has built something called polders, which is essentially a wall they build out into the water, and they drain all the water from behind the wall. So essentially what they're doing is they're pushing back the ocean. And they've actually, as you've seen here in these 2 pictures, they've made the land bigger. And this is great for them because they are a small country, so they need more space to farm, to grow more tulips.
Yes.
All right, China, they built the Three Gorges Dam. As you see in this bottom right picture, it's the biggest hydro dam in the world. It has generated electricity for 140 million people. That's about roughly a third of America's population. Isn't that interesting? One hydro dam can generate enough power for 1/3 of America's population.
Yeah.
All right, on to our second skill, scales of analysis. So scales of analysis is a topic a lot of my students have struggled with year after year. All scales of analysis means is that you can look at different information from different levels. Like if you look at the percentage of people in poverty in Texas compared to the percentage of people in poverty in Dallas, you're looking at 2 different scales. You're looking at information you're looking at the same information, but you're looking at the different results based on how zoomed in you are on that area. You could look at poverty around the world, zoom it in, do poverty in North America, zoom it in again, poverty in Texas, zoom it in again, poverty in Dallas. You're getting that scales of analysis. You're looking at different scales and you're comparing the data in those scales.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you might be wondering, well, okay, what is scale? You've said that like 20 times. Scale is just the size of the map compared to the actual size you're seeing in the real world. How do you read it? It's what do you call that? What, the colon thing?
1 to 24,000.
Yeah, there's a ratio. There's a ratio.
It's a ratio.
Yeah. So you're saying
1 inch.
Yeah,
24,000 miles.
Yeah. Or like so you see these 2 maps. You got a map on the left is New York. 1 inch is equal to 1 mile. Okay.
Well, can I go back to the 1 inch equals 24,000 miles?
Yeah.
Around the world, how many times? 1 inch.
Yeah. That's a big map.
A scale of 1 to 1.
That would be a map the size of the Earth.
It would be the Earth.
It would literally be a carbon copy of the Earth.
No, it's just the Earth.
The Earth, yeah.
Look, a scale is just determining the size on a map if you're looking at something.
Yeah.
And the closer you are, the more detail you're going to get of that map.
Yeah.
You see the map down here to the left. It's New York with their ridiculousness.
Yeah.
With the right angles and stuff.
Yeah, their giant park.
Giant park.
All right, so with scale, you might be wondering, okay, what do all these numbers mean? Like the 1 to 63,000, and you compare this map on the right, 1 to 12 million. What you just need to know is when you're comparing 2 maps, whatever map has the smaller number on the right is a map that's more zoomed in. Okay, you're going to see some questions on the AP exam about scale, and they're going to ask you, based on this scenario, what scale map are you going to want to use? If you're wanting a map of something that's really detailed, like streets, you're going to want a small scale. If they're asking for a map scenario where it shows you multiple countries, multiple continents, you're going to want the number that's bigger. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're going to see some practice questions like that. All right. All right. So size of scale, don't overthink this. It's not that hard. Global scale, if you see a global map, it's going to be a map of everything. So the world. Mm-hmm. Regional maps, and my kids year after year struggle with this. Region is a weird word. In this case, a region is multiple countries. So if you see a map with multiple countries or even a continent, it's a regional scale map. So the map you see in the bottom right, that's a map of Latin America. Latin America is a region. It's also multiple countries, and it's a continent. Well, South America is a continent. Okay. But we can go a step further, state or national. You're going to learn that just means basically the same thing, kind of. That's just showing you a country.
Of the United States.
Oh, yeah. So this is a map showing you the United States. You could argue it's a regional map as well because you do see Canada and Mexico. However, the map is specifically pointing out the United States because the colors are showing you the United States.
Yes.
Okay. And then local is anything smaller than a country. So this map you see of, I think it's supposed to be Dallas County. I can't remember where I got that picture from. But that was COVID cases.
COVID cases.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, here is something that confuses a lot of people because this is what's called counterintuitive. It means you think it's going to be one thing because it sounds right, but it's actually wrong. Okay, a small scale map is actually going to be a really big map. It's going to show you a large surface area of the Earth, like the one you see on the right. You're not going to get a lot of detail from these maps. Okay, that's all it is. A small scale map is actually a big map. Now, the other way around here, a large-scale map is actually going to be a map of a very small area. With large-scale maps, you see a lot more detail. So I know it sounds backwards. You think small-scale map equals small map, large-scale map equals large map. It's backwards. Okay, just remember that. Okay, how do you identify what scale of analysis you're looking at?
Are you okay, Mr. Latimer?
I'm fine. Just forget we have to go over this.
Look, you just got to look at the legend.
Just look at the legend.
Or the title, and that's in caps for a reason.
Yeah, because I've yelled that so many times. If you ever wonder where you find that,
I can't read that.
Okay, well, it says United States of America. Obviously. Just fine, because this is we're talking about the legend or the title. It's a little box. Most maps have it.
It will tell you.
Well, it will tell you. It tells you this is a map of the United States of America. So we know this is a national map.
And because you see some prominent lines, it's probably going to be transportation.
Yes. That's what it is.
Who would have thought?
Yes. Okay, so you might be wondering, well, Mr. Latimer and Dr. Scoggins, why do I care? And good point. Okay, why is anything important?
Well, if you remember back to the very first lesson, one of the things is, why do we care about this?
Yeah.
Here's why.
Yeah, okay. So when you look at things at different scales, it helps you understand a situation better. If y'all remember during COVID-19, they love to show maps of like, look at all the COVID.
And it was bright red.
Yeah.
So red it turned black.
Yeah. It was all everything was high COVID rates. And it was designed to freak you out. So you would buy more medicine or whatever their agenda was. Toilet paper, yeah. You can do this with everything, just besides COVID. In this case, we're going to look at fertility rates, which is the number of babies each woman is likely to have in her lifetime. It's different from birth rates. Birth rates are just number of babies overall.
And the lifetime in geography is 15 to 40.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to look at some maps, and we're going to look at the scale of analysis of fertility rates between all these maps. Okay. So starting off, we got global map. And we can see fertility rates in every country. Okay, so the purple and red are countries with high fertility rates. So if you're a purple country, it means the average woman is having 6 to 7 kids in her lifetime. Yeah. Okay. Compare that to countries that are dark blue or almost purple again, which
makes no sense.
Well, again, I don't know who made this map, but they're bad. Bad. Dark blue. So basically, you got China and Ukraine. They have low fertility rates. Okay. And then, so we look at America, we're green. So we're 1.7, 1.9, which is
2 children.
I mean, the perfect number is 2. 2 is hard. We'll get into that later. So you can see all the countries and where the fertility rates are at. and we can compare them. Okay. And now we can look inside the United States. We knew the United States had a fertility rate of 1.7 and 1.9. But now we can go further. We can delve inside the United States and look at each state. Okay. And we can see that some states have higher fertility rates than others. Like for some reason, South Dakota is leading the charge at having more babies. Good for you, South Dakota.
Good job.
Texas and the South. We have also not the highest, but we're like kind of mid-range. We're doing okay. Utah is high for various reasons.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. Just shot in the dark. Mormonism.
It's Mormons. It's the Jello belt. All right. And so you can also, with scales of analysis, you can compare. You can start noticing these differences and start asking questions like why? Like, why is the Northeast really low in the fertility rate range? It's because of cost of living.
Too much money.
Too much money. It's hard to afford kids. Places that are cheaper, usually you'll start seeing more kids. That's one factor. Religion, like we talked about, the Mormons in Utah, or not really sure what's going on in South Dakota, but good for you.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we can go a little deeper. Let's look inside of Texas. We can see that there's a whole variety of what's going on here. Not some of it makes a bit of a pattern, some of it doesn't. In the Rio Grande Valley, you have a high fertility rate, which would be because the Rio Grande Valley is largely Hispanic, and in Hispanic communities, large families are very common. Okay, in the Panhandle, there's also a pattern of high fertility rates, which is interesting because there's not many people who live out there. You'll notice the cities have also kind of a high fertility rate because there's more people. More people equals more babies. But there's also these bizarre little outliers. Like, what's going on there? Why is there such a high fertility rate?
Or low.
Okay, and we can take it a step further and look at the city level. Now, this is where you're going to start to notice that data becomes a little unreliable because you see there's a lot of gray on this map. The gray means the data has been suppressed, means they didn't get access to it. Okay, what we notice is that places in the cities have lower fertility rates. Actually, this isn't fertility rates, this is just birth rates. But we can see the North Dallas area has a low fertility rate, birth rate. Meanwhile, on the countryside, you have a higher birth rate. So again, this factors into the cost of living. Cost of living in cities is higher than it is in the countryside. However, these people who live in what's called the exurbs, the rural areas that are just beyond the city, they have access to the services in the city. So even though they live out here, they can still drive in and get what they need. So that's probably why they have such a high fertility rate. All right, guys, and that is it for today's lesson. We'll catch you next time when we talk about the different ways we define regions.
Can't wait.
So fun.